Hello, welcome to our Lansing Marketing Hackers Facebook page where we are doing a live Q&A today. I am joined by Lance Beaudry. Hey Lance, how are you?
Good. How are you, Julie? Hi, everyone.
Good. Yes. So, hey everyone, we're coming to you live today because about a month ago, Lance did a presentation, a virtual presentation on SEO. And we thought, let's give it a month, let's give it a few weeks, and then come back to Lance with any questions that we've had during this time as we've been really putting his strategies and his ideas into play. So the presentation last month was called Tracking Goals and Building Demand-Based Websites. So if you missed that, that is live on our page on our YouTube channel, so you can see that at any time. But Lance, I'm really excited to get started today. Quick word from our sponsors. Yeah. So Lance Beaudry of Avalanche Creative, thank you so much for joining us today. Quick shout out to our other sponsors. Chad Muntz is on our Lansing Marketing Hackers committee from WLNS. Paul Schmidt of Uno Deuce Multimedia, Timothy Haynes of Symposia Labs, and of course, I'm Julie Holton of mConnexions Marketing Agency. So thanks so much for joining us. Guys, give us a thumbs up if you can hear us. We want to make sure we're coming through loud and clear, and feel free to use the comment box to ask questions throughout. So Lance and I talked in advance, and we have some questions lined up ready to go, some of the most frequently asked questions, and Lance has answers. So we're going to dive in there, but we will also go through your questions throughout our time. Okay, Lance, ready?
Absolutely. Let's get into it.
All right. So first of all, I think we need to give just a brief explanation. We're talking about SEO, search engine optimization. We generally, most business owners know that that's important when it comes to making sure their businesses are found on Google. But can you start by just giving kind of a quick overview? What the heck is SEO?
Wow. How much time do we have again? In a nutshell, search engine optimization is helping people find exactly what they're looking for through search engines. So Google, I'm going to use Google as the example because that's probably the one we're all most likely to use. But when I say Google, think of that as any search engine. They're all after the same thing, giving the searcher exactly what they're looking for. So a good search engine optimization company, agency, person is going to try to do the exact same thing. And there are many activities that contribute to making sure that you are offering users what they need. But that's essentially, in a nutshell, what search engine optimization is all about. It is driven by a lot of things. Really, depending on who you talk to, we'll say this with a grain of salt, but it can really boil down to two things, and that's content and links. Content being written, images, video on your page, and then links being both internally on your site and then from other sources. So other people's websites essentially saying, hey, that content's good, or this company is trusted. Those are kind of the two pillars of search engine optimization.
Okay, awesome. So in back in the day, there were a lot of black hat tactics. Not that there's still not them out there, but of course, we'd go to search for something and something completely unrelated would pop up. And so what Google and all of the other search engines have done is really refine their algorithms so that when you search for a black piano, you don't get some, pink shoes that show up. That was a really bad example. I should have thought that through. But anyway, that's essentially what SEO is all about. Okay, so Lance, what is one of the most underrated but yet simple SEO tips?
Yes, this one is my favorite because we have been able to actually address this tactic, this issue a lot for our own company over the past month. Just during this pandemic, we've just kind of said, hey, we need to take a look at our own website, our own SEO, and just start making some adjustments. And that most underrated tactic is updating your old content, okay? There's a lot of ways to go about this. Look at your website and almost come to it and maybe even bring in a high school student, bring in a grandparent, bring in a child, have them read maybe even one page on your site, a service page, right? And then talk to them and say, hey, what questions do you have about this? What happens when you update old content is it's providing, or ideally should be providing, more context. So as an example, what we did last month is we looked through with the help of Search Console, which I'll talk a little bit about that. We have another question that's going to come up. I'll geek out about that. But Search Console is a free tool from Google where you can actually see what keywords are driving traffic from Google and to what pages on your website. So we found this blog post that I wrote a couple years ago when we were kind of getting involved in building Shopify sites. We don't do too much of that anymore. But it was something very specific. It's about adding sections to Shopify, which if you ever worked with Shopify, it's pretty easy to do, but there was something that was difficult about it. And I couldn't find that resource on the internet, like to solve a problem that I had. So I found the solution, I created the solution, then I wrote about it on our blog, put it out there on our blog. So what we did is I realized we actually got a lead through that blog post, and we ended up helping somebody with some SEO, but they originally found us through that blog post. So we're like, wow, that was a pretty good blog post then. So I went back to it and I said, well, okay, we're getting a decent amount of traffic every once in a while, but are we fulfilling all of those intentions? So we could see all these different keywords that page would show up for in search results. So we said, okay, how can we update this content to be more valuable and fulfill the intentions of the searchers, of the people that are searching by these terms? So we added a new section just to dive in a little bit deeper on the topic of creating custom Shopify sections. And then all of a sudden, no joke, in a matter of weeks, we doubled, and I think we're on to tripling the traffic to that page now. And so the reason I say most underrated is because it's kind of like where you can find some quick wins. And if you're, maybe to add some more examples, if you're a service-based company and you have a list of the services that you offer, and one of them is actually a really big topic, but you don't have a lot of information about it, create a blog post, link it. That is one of the easiest ways to add more context, because Google, the user, is going to look at that content on that page and they might need more information about it, especially if it's a really large topic.
I love that. And if they need more information on it, don't you want them to stay on your page, right?
Exactly. Exactly. You don't want to send them off. A lot of people are like, well, hey, if they want to find an answer to that, they can just Google it. And it's like, well, you want them to leave and go Google something that you could answer, that you should answer?
Right. Especially if they leave and land on a competitor's site.
Exactly.
You really don't want your competitor giving your potential clients the answers. Lance, the other thing you said that I really liked is you talked about intention. And we talk about this with our clients a lot at mConnexions, because it's not just about the numbers. It's not just about, high volume of people going to your website. You want the right people. Yep. So what a great tip, especially right now. A lot of business owners, those that have time, can be spending time refining and updating content. Yep. I also love that you're not saying that we necessarily, like, your number one tip isn't to write loads and loads of new content. It's to take content that already exists and make it better. Yes. So I like that already.
Absolutely. Yeah. We even yesterday, we updated a new blog post and immediately, again, started seeing today better results from it. So
awesome.
It happens.
Yeah. Okay. Next question. What can local businesses do for more search engine visibility?
Yes.
We get that question a lot. Everyone wants number one.
Yeah. This one I really like. First of all, I'm going to overemphasize this all day long. Google My Business. If you don't have it, obviously get it. It's free. Get verified. Complete your profile. That's just a gimme. Okay. It's so easy to do. There's no excuses. The next one tends to need you need a little bit more context to this, but go out there and complete your local citations. And what I mean by that is things like Yelp, Yellow Pages, even Foursquare. I don't even know anybody that uses Foursquare anymore, right? I'm not sure if that's even a thing that people use, but here's the reality. Is Google is looking to that almost as validation that, like, you exist. Imagine, I like to maybe give this example. Maybe a friend tells you about a great restaurant that they went to, and they're like, oh, it's so great, you got to try it. And then you ask, where is it? And they go, oh, I don't know. I'm not sure where it is. That's almost like Google. Like if you're they're looking for those recommendations and they're looking for consistency. So yeah, you're not going to get customers, especially my business. We're not going to get customers on Yelp, but we have a Yelp profile because it just validates us. It's one more place to make it very clear to Google, because they will crawl all of those sites, that you are a business that operates locally. So that's just one of those. Moz.com has a great list down to categories. So if you are, let's say you're a cleaning service, right? If you're a local cleaning service, it will tell you the top 10 places to go and fill out those free profiles. And they tend to be free. Now, when they're free, I do want to say this. You fill out your yellow pages and they're probably going to try and sell you something. You're going to get on their email list. Just unsubscribe from it, but create those free profiles. A lot of times they can really give you a little boost in local search engine visibility.
I love that. Okay, I have to jump over to the comments for a quick moment to acknowledge Nathan Creswick, because he is laughing at me. I just said for the business owners who have time right now, and he's laughing because Nathan Creswick is the owner farmer at Creswick Farms. Nathan, thank you for taking the time to join us. I know you have been extremely busy with your business lately. So thanks for joining us, and feel free, everyone, comment, ask questions. Lance is here to answer your questions as we go through. Okay, Lance, next question I have for you. What is your favorite free tool for SEO?
Gosh, there's so many, but I'm going to probably start with the one that I already mentioned, Google Search Console. I don't think many business owners, many people who are responsible for managing a website even know about it, unfortunately. And even if you do know about it, you probably don't know how to use it to gain valuable insights. So Google Search Console, it's a free tool. It's different than analytics. You can almost divide up the differences between Search Console and analytics like this. Analytics is for everything once the user makes it to the site. Now we can understand where they're coming from, but it's also on all types of traffic. It's not just search engine traffic. Like we can see who's coming through from email and pay-per-click, social media, all of that stuff, right? And then down to a science of where they're coming from. Are they on mobile, on desktop? Search Console is just data from Google's search engine results page. So just that search engine. And it will actually give you the exact queries, so those keywords that you are getting visibility for and clicks through to your site. You can see your positions on those keywords. You can see trend data. You can boil it down to specific pages, specific keywords. The filters aren't amazing. Hopefully they continue to get better over time, but it's just one of those tools that if you're looking for opportunities to improve your overall website's capability to get good qualified traffic, you start spending some time in those performance reports within Search Console, and you're going to start to make some improvements that are going to generate new business for you. We had a relatively new customer in the last few months who they had an amazing site, really, really nice looking site. And when we loaded it on our phones, it seemed like it was mobile friendly. The other benefit of Google Search Console is it will tell you if their crawler believes that it's not mobile friendly. So it will give you an alert. And what we realized, and this business was like hyper local, like they're all about getting foot traffic. So it was getting flagged for all these mobile usability issues, even though like when we load it, we test it, it's like, okay, I don't understand, it's fine, but something was wrong. We sent that information to the developers. Somehow they figured it out. We got those removed, and all of a sudden mobile traffic went up. So that's another huge benefit. It will tell you if you have any errors that would be preventing them from recommending you. Now, here's something else that we are aware of, but it might be worth noting too if I'm going down the rabbit hole of mobile friendly.
Yeah.
Right? Google indexes mobile first, meaning you got to make sure you have a mobile friendly website, okay, in a nutshell. And here's something that we realized with this particular customer. They actually got a lot of branded searches. So branded means they are looking for them by name, right? And Google is not going to penalize if they see that, this site is not mobile friendly. They're not going to, if I search for that company by brand, they're still going to show me that site, right? But if I search for that company by product or service and not including their name, they're less likely with an issue like that to be recommended, because Google wants to send them to a site with a good experience. And if they're like, oh, this site has some mobile usability issues, then it's like, okay, well, we don't want to recommend them because that's not a good experience. So it gives you just tons and tons of great insights. If you want a few more awesome free tools, answerthepublic.com tells you, you type in a keyword, tells you all the questions that people ask related to whatever topic it is, whatever keyword that you entered. Ubersuggest is a free keyword research tool that is getting better and better all the time. Gosh, there's probably loads and loads more, but.
And it's so important to point out too that I know for our clients, it seems intuitive that we're going to know what the keywords are, but that's not always the case, right? No. So these tools that you're talking about are so important. We think we know what people are typing into Google to find us, but very rarely do we actually know those top keywords people are using.
Yes, exactly. And that's where it's so important. Like if you spend enough time and you look in the right areas, you can start to develop a little bit of that. We call it search empathy, like really caring about the way that they search for. But really, it's more than that. It is customer empathy. And you probably experience this if you talk to your customer, if you listen to your customer correctly, you're going to hear the language that they use, and that should help you develop a sense of like, hey, what do we create as far as content on our site?
Absolutely. And so important to know too, you pointed out that it's the console is going to tell you what's working perhaps, but also what's not working, what keywords need to be adjusted, or maybe you're attracting a high volume of traffic, but you're not closing those leads. It's not converting. Yes. So why is that happening? Are you attracting people that aren't actually interested in your services? Because if that's the case, those aren't the people you want to be attracting. Totally. So
very good point.
The next question, Lance, is for those who are listening and are thinking, okay, this is great, but overload, like where do I start? If I'm a business and maybe I'm DIYing this, or I just, I'm not quite at that point yet to hire someone to really focus on this. Where do I start? What can I be doing on my own?
Yep. Well, timing is good on this. I hate to be self-promotional, but we do have a course that we launched several weeks ago that teaches you exactly how to go through the processes that we go through, or really that I've gone through over the last few years in executing SEO. So that's a great resource, and we're constantly looking for feedback to make it better.
So tell us where to find that.
Yes, that is avalangegr.com/avalanche-course. Or if you just go to the domain, you should be able to find it pretty easily.
Okay, we'll put that in the comments.
Perfect. Yeah.
Awesome.
The other thing that I want to say though about SEO is the best way to get started is just to start doing it and perform experiments. There are a lot of courses out there and resources that are fantastic, but they'll just kind of fill your head with knowledge. And if you don't do anything with that knowledge, then you're not going to start seeing results. It's the results that get you, for me personally, like once I start like, wow, I'm ranking for this. Wow, we got a lead from organic SEO. It kind of like perpetuates that curiosity of what you need to level up in your SEO game. So that's why I say, just get out there, take what we've just said, just start doing it. Don't be afraid of screwing anything up. We mess things up literally every day. I'm sure of it. But be willing to learn from every new step that you make. So if there is anyone listening that's like, hey, I don't even have a business, I don't even know where to start, pick something and just start. What do you like to write about? Do you want to start some kind of new local business? It's okay to build your website first and get a Google My Business set up and start telling people you're open for business, even if you're not open for business. you got to start somewhere.
So I love that you say you've got to start. What do you typically see that people do wrong when they're doing SEO? Like, how can we maybe learn from some of those mistakes you were talking about? I'm sure we're going to make plenty of mistakes, but what's something you see people doing wrong?
Yeah. So one of the biggest things is caring more about what you are going to get out of SEO rather than what you can give out of it. So all of these tactics, all of these things that we're talking about when it comes to executing a search engine optimization strategy, building a website that's actually valuable for your customer, it's so easy. I'm guilty of this as well, to look at our keywords, look at our content ideas for like, ooh, what are we going to get out of this, from that person we're trying to get in front of? And then it kind of like ruins everything. It ruins everything that comes after that, because you will not be able to produce something that is truly valuable for your target if you have this lens of like, hey, what are we going to get out of it? You're not going to be able to give as much. So that's something typically that I see a lot of people do wrong, and they like to find the hacks, right? Hacks over time, like you talk about black hat, like there's old school strategies that, quite frankly, depending on the business, depending on the website, sometimes black hat and old school hacks and tricks, they can still work. But the reality is like Google literally just yesterday rolled out a big update, and there's some volatility in people's positions in Google. They're constantly making tweaks. Their engines are getting smarter. They're using AI to understand this stuff better and better. They're personalizing search. So maybe something you searched 3 days ago is now going to influence the new search that you make today. So really, it needs to be caring more about the customer. I know I say that a ton, but I think that's what it's about. And maybe secondly would be kind of the comprehensive keyword research to inform your overall content strategy and how you organize the content on your website. So we see this all the time where we work with local businesses. I'll use a landscape design company as an example. They came to us and it's like, hey, they're so focused on getting these big jobs. Like we want to do the backyard pool and spa, stuff that costs $30,000-$40,000 to design and install and upkeep all this. But we find out in an investigative process, like, oh yeah, they also build pergolas, which isn't as much of a investment, or they maybe do outdoor lighting, also not as much of an investment. However, it's related to the overall topic of landscape design. And who's to say that that person that has that big project isn't actually just searching for a company that does really awesome outdoor lighting? So they're going to look at it and say, we want to optimize for pool and spa, and neglect outdoor lighting because it's not as valuable to them, right? But the reality is like, you might actually get the person who wants the whole thing, and you're attracting them through that like lighter service, less productive service. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Such an important point. Yeah. You don't want to, I find that even in general marketing strategy or big picture marketing strategy, we always say to our clients, okay, let's talk about your business as a whole. Let's talk about the most profitable areas of your business where you really want to attract those leads. But let's also talk about what are other things that people are looking for that you do that are going to bring them to you, and then lead to those bigger buying decisions later. Because oftentimes people start their research small or very focused, even if they are looking for the big picture.
Exactly. Yep.
The other thing, Lance, that I really want to point out and emphasize that you talked about is caring about the customer. That is so important. And I love that you brought that up with SEO, which sometimes can feel like, and I know you were saying earlier, you kind of geek out about the technical side of this and how it all works together. But that's so true for business in general and our marketing in general. I was just giving a presentation last week on our roadmap for recovery as we're building out what our new marketing strategies are going to look like as we recover from COVID, when businesses are able to reopen. And that's the number one thing, is your recovery is not about you. which seems
Mm.
so like
Oh,
counterintuitive. But
yeah,
your
that's
recovery
great.
is about your customers, your
Yeah,
clients.
yeah.
What can you do to help them?
Mm,
What are your products and services doing to make their lives better
yeah,
and easier?
yeah,
That's what's going to make them part with their dollar, which then in turn is going to fuel your recovery. So I love hearing that about SEO, because after all, the
yeah,
content we're putting out there needs to be about the clients and the
totally.
customers.
Exactly. That's, yeah, another great way of saying it. I love it. That's so true. Yeah.
Okay, we have a question that's come in from Connie. Connie, let me see if I can put this up here on the screen. Gets a little cut off here, but let me read this. Okay, why do we still see brands using Google AdWords to come to the top of the page in search when they are often the second result? So I think she's saying, if someone
Mm,
is paying for an ad and then they're not first in the organic rankings, but they're second. So then
mm.
she says they're paying for the person who clicks the first result, which is a costly ad, instead of the organic result. How do brands know if their site is ranking well for their own brand and stop paying for this?
That's,
Great question. Great kind of topic here.
that is a great question. I would say my quick answer to that is like, it's more real estate. If you have more than one result, more than one link on that search engine result page, that's good. It's just a more higher likelihood that you're getting a click through, especially, and I would assume this would be the case in most instances, that you have like a different title that you're optimizing for. So you're going to see different click through rates there. Paying for your brand name, that's always an interesting one to me. I don't really get the purpose of that. The only reason that you would definitely want to do that is if other brands are paying for your brand name. And now here's what happens too. A lot of people think that their competitors are buying their keywords to bid against them, but what happens, like if I go back to the landscape example, I've seen this before, where it's like I search for, let's say it's called AAA landscape. I search AAA landscape, and a competitor, double B landscape, shows up as an ad. Well, Google's not necessarily, or that company's not necessarily bidding on AAA. They're bidding on the word landscape. AAA just happened to be in there, right? So sometimes it's not as like direct as, hey, we're bidding against your name. It's just what shows up.
That's really good to know. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Interesting too, Lance, when the first part of your answer, you were talking about more real estate. I mean, not to kind of jump in on the landscaping terminology there,
Yeah.
but you see more real estate on the
Yeah.
Google search engine results page.
Right.
And I know, and I don't know the stats, maybe you do, but people are more likely, if you have an ad and you're in the organic space, they're going to click in the organic space. And I don't know what the stats are, but I've read that, and that definitely lends into what you're saying too about more real estate, more space.
Exactly. Yes, they're kind of across the board. It's going to vary from industry to industry, keyword to keyword, quite frankly. But overall, generally across the internet, click-through rates are much higher on organic results than paid ads. Now, I don't do paid ads. I don't live in that world, and I'm not saying don't do them. Like Google wouldn't be as valuable as they are without them. So there is a place for them. But another thing that's interesting, and I want to say the company that put together this data is called, I believe, Jump Shot. But they did an interesting case study, I think it was throughout 2019, and comparing maybe the search engine results from 10 years previously. You would think that the number one organic result, or even the number one paid result, would get the vast majority of clicks, and then it goes down. Well, over time, as Google has changed the visual makeup of the search engine results page, click-throughs of the number one are actually less. So there's actually more diversity in the percentage of people that are clicking through to, the top 5 results. What makes a huge difference, again, and this is another one of those low-hanging fruit things you should be working on, is your title tags and your meta descriptions, because those are essentially your advertisements in the search engine results page. With a really good one, you can have position 5 and potentially get more clicks than position 1. it's possible. So.
Great tip. Okay, Paul wants to know, hey, Paul from Uno Deuce Multimedia, what about video? How does adding video to your blog post? You need to have a written post as well. Great SEO question. So
Yeah.
we get this a lot too. Like, can I just post a video on my blog and be done with it? Would that help or hurt my SEO, or do I need to have content there as well?
Yeah. The short classic SEO answer is always going to be, it depends. It depends on the intention of the user, what the keyword is. However, I will say this, yes to video, almost across the board. Yes, 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 yes. Have video. I wish I had more video for every single blog post, because just think about the nature of any content now. If it can be communicated in a video, if portions of your content can be communicated in a video, there are people that prefer that. Not everyone, but if there's someone, then it's important. Another thing that's interesting is, like, if you subscribe to a tool like SEMrush is what we use, it will show you can put in a keyword and it will show you information like the top 10 results all include a video for this keyword. Or you could even take a group of keywords and say, show me the keywords that reveal a video in the search engine results page. Sometimes with a how-to, a DIY, if you search that in Google, you tend to get a video showing up that is usually a YouTube video. You can actually filter, and that is how you can determine the importance of a video on any keyword or topic on your site.
That is an excellent tip. And by the way, Lance, Paul says if you need video, he knows a guy.
Is he the guy?
I think, Uno Multimedia, Paul can help you out with video. That was a great question though, Paul. And that's something that, that I have considered as well. I know that whether it's a podcast or a video, oftentimes I see websites including a transcript. Does that help the SEO, especially if the transcript has keywords in it?
Absolutely.
What's the best optimized video?
Yeah. Again, I hate to say this to sound like a broken record, but it depends. There's no doubt if it can create a better user experience, then it's worth it. Like adding closed captioning, which I'm not really sure, does YouTube, sometimes they do that automatically. I think you can choose to
set it up that way. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But adding that, they can crawl that, especially if you're like embedding a YouTube video, like that's their property. So they can understand the context of a closed caption video, which helps them understand exactly what it is you're talking about in that video.
Great point. Yeah. Google owns YouTube, for those who don't know. So the two platforms are certainly going to, Google's certainly going to favor YouTube.
Exactly. Yep. So yeah, absolutely. Video all the way. You need to have it. I would even go so far as to say, this might be a bit over the top, but like in a perfect world, I would have a video with almost every single one of my blog posts for our company, for our customers. I think there's some case, the reality is like that would get pretty pricey, especially if you wanted like quality video, but yeah.
Well, Connie just confirmed Paul is the guy. So Connie says hire Paul.
Connie knows. All right.
Blog. Okay, Lance, I have one more question for you. And again, to our audience, if you have questions for Lance, jump in and ask them now. I'll ask this question and then we'll hit any more in the comments before we wrap up. Lance, my next question is about content writing. How do you write content that is SEO friendly?
Yep. In short, write for the human. We've been talking, that's kind of been a theme of everything that we've talked about already. But it's really important to do that. And that means it's okay to be conversational. It's okay to be fun, be, sarcastic. Obviously understand the tone of what are you writing about? Are you writing something, a medical piece, right? Like, there's a time and a place for a joke, right? And you need to understand the audience and understand that context, but write for them. Now, when we say that, it's like, oh, that's hard to do still. Like, what do you mean? Well, from an SEO perspective, you can at least use your keyword data as evidence of what the searcher does need to kind of help provide and guide what you produce. One thing, actually somewhat born out of quarantine during the pandemic, that we have been doing a lot more of, is what we do is we work with customers to create what we call SEO content templates. And it's essentially a framework. Think of it as the blueprint of a house, to say like, hey, if we want to dominate this topic, whatever this topic is, here's what we need for content. And typically what we've done is just kind of like sent those off in a Google Doc to a customer, and they type away and answer the questions that we have. What we've realized is, you know what, the quality of content that we create out of those could be better if we actually just scheduled interviews with them. And that's what we've been doing. We've been scheduling Zoom calls where we take our content templates and we use them as kind of like guides to interview. And what we get to do out of that is, when we have a question in our content template that we ask them, we're listening, we're actively listening, and then say, oh, well, I have another follow-up question to what you just said there. And that wasn't in our content template. But because we're listening and it's like, oh, I'm curious, I don't understand this topic. Now we're really expanding upon it, and we're actually building this really, really valuable piece of content because it's conversational. And what we've learned is subject matter experts, if they really like their subject matter, can talk about these things for days, right? But not everyone's a writer. Not everyone, even though they see a question, they can answer a question, like to just type it out. It's much easier to talk it out. So that's one huge takeaway that we've had. We've seen a ton of value in that. If you're looking to, go out there and produce some really good content, set up interviews like that.
Great idea. Okay, next we have a question from Connie before we wrap up here. She is asking, do you recommend any specific SEO plugins for WordPress websites?
Totally. Yep. The one that we probably most, I know it's probably the most popular SEO plugin. It's just called Yoast. That's what we use. That's what we prefer to use. There are a few others. Really, Yoast, the main things that we like to use it for are just optimizing meta and title tags. There's a lot of additional features that Yoast comes with. Like, they have these SEO scores. To some extent, you can ignore those. They're not, if you get all green lights, because I think they like break it down by like red, yellow, green. It's a good guide, but just because you see like 100% score or all green doesn't mean you're just going to rank for all of the terms you're targeting. So take those with a grain of salt. There's another one, especially on long form content. So anything, maybe 1,000 words plus, that we've been using, called, I can't remember the name of it. It's a table of contents plugin. So essentially what it does, we like to think, and this is maybe a good analogy, think of every blog post as a body, right? And your body has many organs to it. And if you're missing an organ, like, the body doesn't operate very well, right? Likewise, like if you have a big topic, recently I just wrote a email that we sent out earlier today about mindfulness. Mindfulness is a huge topic, right? If you want to rank for that, you can't be missing an important subtopic. You can't miss that organ. Otherwise, it's just not a very full covered piece of content on mindfulness. So a table of contents is a really good experience, and helps optimize for some of those short tail keywords. So using that example of mindfulness, I know it gets searched like over 100,000, just that single keyword alone gets searched over 100,000 times per month. And anything that's short tail is very hard to rank for. But think about the user, like, what is it Google's looking at that keyword mindfulness and asking, what are they looking for? What is this person looking for? The topic of mindfulness is huge. Do they want an app? Do they want to learn how to do it? Like, there's so many nuances to it. So they're going to offer the best recommendation where they can go and get everything they need. And so a page that has a table of contents that like kind of helps guide, like, okay, you're looking for mindfulness, but what exactly is it that you're looking for? A table of contents, even just at a page level, is helpful for people to get exactly what they're looking for. So that's another great tool that we like to use.
This has been so helpful. Lance, thank you so much for joining us
Yeah,
and
my
talk
pleasure.
about this. What is the best way for our audience members to get a hold of you if they have any follow-up questions or if they want to talk to you about the SEO services that you provide?
Yeah, just go to our website, avalanchegr.com. My contact information is there, lance@avalanchegr.com. We've got a weekly email where we just share all kinds of stuff like we shared today. Yeah, sign up for our course. It's a great way to really learn how to do this stuff and build something.
Excellent. Thank you so much again for joining us. For those of you, if you missed Lance's presentation last month, that is on our YouTube page. So just head to the Lansing Marketing Hackers on YouTube, and you can watch the whole thing there. And then we will see you back here next month for our next presentation. Awesome. Thanks so much.
Yeah, thanks, Julie. Appreciate it.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.